An up-and-down display ends in disappointment against Japan. And now another tough test against the side ranked 35th in the world. What will Steve Clarke do now? Hello, I'm Ray Bradshaw and this is the Scottish Football Podcast. All the news, views and analysis you need on Monday the 30th of March. And this is the aftermath of defeat to Japan.
Here comes Japan once more, it's into Shoga, it must be, it surely is, it is! The goal beyond gun. Well, we thought it's been on the cards and it's Junior Ito. It is Scotland 0, Japan 1.
Scotland now without a win in a friendly at Hampden in 10 years. And Steve Clarke wasn't thrilled by the response to the result from the stands.
Disappoints me, I have to be honest. Listen, it's just the modern way. It seems to be now if you lose a game you get booed, so you just got to deal with it.
But there's still another chance this international window to give the Tartan Army something to cheer about. Can the Scots find a cutting edge to carve out a win against the Ivory Coast?
It's good to get these challenges. We're obviously trying to prepare as well as we can for a big summer ahead, and we'll keep improving. Every opportunity we get to take the field, we'll try and get better, and that's what we'll do again on Tuesday.
We'll guide you through the World Cup build-up.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
Yes, hello and welcome to the Scottish Football Podcast. We said it's the aftermath of the Japan game, generally one of the most boring games I've watched in a while, so let's see how we get into it. We're joined today by former Scotland internationalist Cammy Bell. Cammy, how are you?
I'm good, Ray. Yourself?
I'm alright. What was your thoughts on the game? Boring? Enjoyable?
Yes, there wasn't many exciting moments within the game. One or two that I'm sure we'll speak about, but it was quite a flat game, shall we say.
Yeah, and we're also joined by Michael Grant, the Times Scottish football correspondent. Michael, you were at Hampden. Have you got your voice back after that booing at the end? How are you feeling?
Ray, not only did I watch it last night, I watched it again today.
Did you? Why?
That's a level of professionalism that I bring to this podcast. You know that? I wanted to just see what I'd missed when you're writing. You know, you don't always take it all in. It wasn't any better, I must admit, the following day. You know, it was a hard watch, but listen. It's a friendly. I don't know, Ray, did you pick up on the booing at full time? I'll be honest, I didn't think it was that noticeable. I mean,
so I wasn't at the game. I was in Southend. I'm on tour just now, so I was in Southend. I watched it, and when the full time whistle went, I yelled out loud. I was sitting in a dressing room by myself, and I said out loud to myself, was that booing? You could pick up a little bit on the telly. I thought, Cammy, did you notice that?
Yeah, I noticed it on the telly as well. Straight away, you kind of picked up on it, and again, it was like you're kind of. For me, it's very, very harsh. I get the game wasn't great, but listen, what we've done recently, it was certainly a little bit of a surprise, shall I say? Yeah,
well, let's kick off with the reflections and what wasn't particularly a Saturday night thriller at Hampden. Japan ranked higher than us in the world rankings. Decent pacey side. They were. We should say Japan were missing a couple of players as well. Michael, what was your overall thoughts on this? Because I think because we've qualified for the World Cup, I think a lot of people, myself included, even though I was at every home game at Hampden, have forgot in recent times it wasn't great. Do you think this was a continuation of that?
Yeah, probably. I mean, the Denmark game was such a high and it was so exciting and there was so many elements to it that were just absolutely thrilling, and we've loved it, and we're still feeding off it, aren't we? Months later. But it was funny at Hampden last night because even from about 5 minutes in, you could just tell, I know how this game is going to go. It's going to be, we'll be competitive. We were competitive in the game, but it was a bit flat, and there was some singing early on, but I thought pretty quickly the atmosphere just died, and it went so flat, and the tempo of the game wasn't great, and it never really picked up. I mean, if McTominay scored that early chance, then maybe it's a different night, maybe it's a different performance, maybe the fans get more engaged in it. But at the end of the day, it's a friendly against Japan. We know how these games go. We've had bad runs of friendly results. Well, as you say, Ray, for a decade, but specifically ahead of the last two Euros, the results weren't great. Steve Clarke kind of tried to talk up the performance a bit, but it was a hard watch. I mean, the team wasn't terrible by any means, but it was just a bit flat and a bit grey, really.
Yeah, I think it reminded me a lot of the Northern Ireland game a couple of years ago when we lost 1-0 and they scored a good goal. Connor Bradley scored right in front of me, actually, and then it kind of petered out. Cammy, put your goalkeeper hat on for a second. Should McTominay be scoring that chance, or is it a good save?
I think when he looks back at it, if he hits it anywhere else, it goes in the net. It was a really good ball from John McGinn. He dug it out really well, and McTominay arrives perfectly as he does. I think he just catches it too sweet. Again, he's straight at the goalkeeper. You've got to give the goalkeeper credit because it's only sort of 4 or 5 yards out, but he gets a hand to it, and he's very fortunate, even the way the ball spins and comes off the post. So I think he'll look back, and if he hits it anywhere else, it's in the back of the net. And as Michael said, if that goes in the back of it, I think it is a different game. It probably spurs us on to have a little bit more tempo and intensity in the game. And it just didn't happen. It fell flat very, very quickly for me. And the atmosphere, certainly listening to it through the TV screens, it sounded flat, it looked flat. Everything about the game just seemed a little bit, I don't know, as if something was missing. And again, it's the stat that you mentioned, 10 years at Hampden for friendlies is just quite incredible. We don't handle them very well. But again, it's important that we do go into this World Cup in better form than we did going into the Euros, because we know what happened there.
Yeah, I was thinking about it when I was watching it. Obviously, I thought McTominay and McGinn, they're the players we need. They were playing quite deep. But you're forgetting they're coming back from injury layoffs. They've not played much football in the past couple of months, so it's good to see them back. Michael, for you, Tommy Conway, George Hurst, do you think Conway, from Steve Clarke, he was talking him up a lot after the game. I don't know, have you ever interviewed Tommy Conway, Michael?
No.
I did a thing with him. He's brilliant. He's really intelligent, which I know, Cammy, you know a lot of footballers. It's surprising, but I think he's going to be a PFA rep. He does a lot of kind of outreach charity work in the Northeast, and Middlesbrough fans love him. He's the kind of guy you want good things to happen. Steve Clarke was talking about George Hurst. I actually thought George Hurst was going to score. He did really well. Do you think anyone has improved their chances of getting the play in from that game?
I think Hurst did have a good cameo when he came off the bench. You know, I watched Conway specifically today when I watched it again, and he was okay. I mean, I don't think you could go over the top about his contribution, but he hasn't played much for Scotland, and he'd have felt conscious, I guess, of a lot of eyes being on him. I'd like to see Gilmore and Christie tried in the Ivory Coast game. I thought Christie was quite good when he came on. Again, I don't think anybody was terrible. It was really just kind of 5s and 6s, really, if you were marking them out of 10. And Curtis obviously came on late on, and we got a few minutes of Finlay Curtis.
Did he get a touch? Genuine question.
Don't think he got much, did he? Don't think he got much. I think he did get a touch, but I don't think he wasn't really involved in it, But it's Steve Clarke's not going to be experimenting at this time of the build up. There's 2 more confirmed games. There'll be 1 more game after that. He's going to go. He said there'll be 6 or 7 changes for the Ivory Coast game. He said already that most of the squad would get game time over these 2 matches, so we know what we're in for with these games, and I suppose it's our responsibility not to read too much into them, and not go over the top about a defeat. But against that, Ray, and I'm not saying booing is right, but I understand it. When you've paid 40 quid for a ticket, you are expecting to be entertained. And Steve Clarke made the point after the game. He said that just seems to be the way fans are now. That if the team gets beaten, you boo, and he's probably right. I mean, we see plenty of it in Scotland in club games and the international team. That if the fans feel they've been not entertained and let down or not got value for money, then they'll let them know about it.
I think that was a harsh comment from Steve Clarke, because I don't think I've booed a Thistle team since Cammy played in goals. So it's been a while. So Cammy, if we're talking goalie, Angus Gunn, decent display from him. Where do you think Steve Clarke's head is between, if we do get, I was going to say a fit Craig Gordon, but he's not going to play much football. So do you think Gunn's in the lead just now, or do you think it is still tried and tested with Craig Gordon?
I think he'll go with Craig Gordon. If Craig Gordon's fit for the World Cup, I think Craig Gordon will play. I don't really think it matters too much. Yes, it would be ideal if Craig can get a few games under his belt before the World Cup, but if that doesn't happen, I really don't think that affects it too much in Steve's decision. I think just his fitness, he handles the pressure games really well, does Craig. He's still a top goalkeeper. And I think just that experience that he's got. But listen, it's good to have Angus Gunn playing. He did well yesterday again. Some decent saves. Everything that was asked of him, he done very tidily and looked very confident within the game as well. So I think it's good that he's getting the game time. I would expect him to play again on Tuesday night. I think if we can get as much game time in Angus Gunn internationally before the World Cup, it sets us up in a better place to have Angus and Craig there to fight it out. But I still believe that Steve Clarke will go with Craig Gordon if he's fit.
Yeah, I think so too. I do feel that deep down because he's never really let us down, has he? Michael, you mentioned Finlay Curtis making a debut. Cammy, I'm setting you up for this one. So you made your debut for Scotland in 2010. We beat the Faroe Islands 3-0. You were one of 7 debutants in that game, which I reckon we've had 7 debuts for Scotland in the past 18 months, maybe, let alone a game. Can you remember any of the other 6? Any of them, Cammy?
I think I can. Was Craig Bryson one of them?
Craig Bryson was one of them, yeah.
Yes, so I remember that because obviously Craig was at Kilmarnock with me. The rest of them, I am really, really struggling, Ray, to be honest.
Michael, any ideas?
Oh, Ray, I'm hopeless at these things. I've got a memory like a sieve. I can barely remember the team I watched last night.
Yeah, that's why you watched it again. So the debutants in your game, this is 2010. Danny Wilson, Barry Bannon,
Right, okay.
James MacArthur, Cammy Bell, Craig Bryson, Stephen Saunders,
Wow.
and David Goodwillie. That is the 7 debutants in 2010. We won 3-0. Danny Wilson scored on his debut. Cammy kept a clean sheet for the 22 minutes he was on the pitch, which is that a personal best, Cammy?
Oh, definitely, Ray, isn't it? Certainly didn't do any better at Thistle when you were watching me, that's for sure.
Okay, let's look forward to the Ivory Coast on Tuesday. Michael, you've already mentioned Steve Clarke said he expects 6 or 7 changes. Rare you get something that forthcoming from Steve Clarke, to be honest.
Yeah.
What changes do you expect?
I'm not sure. I mean, I did try and have a look at the team. I thought he might give Ross McCrory a run. He, depending on whether Grant Hanley's fit enough. I know he hasn't played for a long number of weeks for Hibs. Obviously, we know that Steve likes Hanley a lot. I said Gilmore and Christie. I would like to see them starting them in midfield behind McGinn, McTominay. Curtis, I'm not sure. I mean, I would like to see him. I'd like to see what he can bring at that level and whether he can handle it. I think Ivory Coast are quite a physical side. Maybe that wouldn't suit him. He might want to keep Conway in the team. Shea Adams is obviously an option. I thought it was a hard shift for the strikers last night. You know, I thought there were times when Dykes was isolated. I thought the Japanese defenders handled him pretty well, to be honest with you. They won a lot of the challenges. And then when Hurst came on, I know you're right. I thought he did really well to cut inside and get that shot away. I think someone in the North Stand thought he'd scored because just from the angle of it. But there were times when Hurst was isolated as well. So it's a hard shift being a Scotland striker, you know, when the 3 behind aren't able to get close enough. I mean, actually, that McTominay goal. The McTominay chance early on, that's been a classic Scotland kind of attack, isn't it? You know, the late running midfielders coming in and scoring it. McGinn was doing it for a long time, then McTominay was doing it for a long time. So nice to see that move is still in the team, you know, even if the finish wasn't quite there.
When we lost 3-2 to Greece away, when it went to 3-2, McTominay had a very similar chance and he hit it straight to the keeper and it went over the bar. It seems he's got that trademarked. It's funny you mentioned.
Probably interested in the Hollywood goals now, Ray. You know,
he's probably trying to score at the end of his murals. That's what I would do. Showbiz. But Cammy, for you, Michael's mentioned there about Grant Hanley. When you look at Steve Clarke over the past few games, the centre half pairing has changed in each game. Grant Hanley came in against Denmark last minute because was it John Suter pulled up in the warm up?
Yeah.
The game before it had been Suter and Hanley. Scott McKenna's there. Jack Hendry's there. Do you think after the next game, Ivory Coast, after these 2 games, that Steve Clarke will know his preferred centre-back pairing, or do you think he already knows that and just wants to kind of test out other pairings?
I think he'll have an idea of who his preferred centre back pairing is. Listen, I think when you look at it, for me, it's a position that I'm unsure who I would pick, to be honest. And when I look at the centre back partnership, I think Hanley potentially will get some game time if he's fit enough, and he's had that conversation with Steve Clarke. And then does John Souttar come and play a part of the game on Tuesday as well? So, listen, when I look at that position, it's a position that I think we've got players in there that can do well, but again, I don't know what the partnership will be for Steve Clarke going forward into the World Cup. And it's such an important area of the pitch for us as well. And it's one where we've probably really struggled over the years to have a nailed down centre-half partnership. It's chopped and changed, as you mentioned, for a long, long period. So, I think Steve's got a couple of games to work it out and make sure. And again, it'll be obviously availability with fitness and stuff as well going into the World Cup. So it'll be interesting to see who does play that centre-back partnership on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see Dominic Hyam, especially since a lot of people, I'd imagine both of you included, thought we would see maybe a Stephen Kingsley in this squad, maybe a Halkett, or Halkett for me, it was Harry Milne, who I thought should have been nailed on, especially when we got that lack of width. But Halkett was the one that everyone was talking about. Cammy, how do you think the Scotland players will feel about playing a Scotland international game in Liverpool?
I think they'll be excited about it. Again, I remember when I was in a squad and we played Brazil at the Emirates, and I was in that squad, and it was a friendly down there. We obviously had a training camp away in Spain before that. So again, you're excited. It's a game at a different stadium. It's good for the fans as well. I think you'll get a lot of the Tartan Army travelling down there to see a brand new stadium as well. So I think they'll enjoy it. It's a different environment. Again, it's away from Hampden, so it allows them to go and express themselves. But I really do. I think it's a good thing playing away from Hampden now and again, and not always just playing there. Again, we've not got a great record with friendlies, so hopefully Tuesday night down in Liverpool we can change that.
Yeah, I'm going down. I'm really, really looking forward to it. Like you said, new stadium, and also a Scotland away trip that's only 3.5 hours on the train, as opposed to when I was in Greece recently, it's an absolute trek. But for you, Michael, there was a lot made in it. If you've watched it back, the BBC Scotland game, you'd have seen Neil McCann lamenting the fact that we didn't play a diamond. He thought that's what it was going to be set up to do and get the width of Patterson and Andy Robertson. Andy Robertson, I thought, looked pretty good yesterday, actually. Are you expecting tactical changes formation-wise, faster build-up, more attacking intent, I think, is what the fans would like? Do you think we'll see that?
You mentioned three things there, the attacking intent and pace. Yeah, I would like to think that we'll see more of that, because I think Steve Clarke will try and emphasise that to the team, won't he? There was little phases of it. Start of the second half, start of the first half was kind of okay. Start of the second half was pretty decent. Created a couple of chances. You had the Robertson shot pushed away by the keeper. You had winning the free kick, and I thought they were better at getting numbers up the pitch at the start of the second half, which was something that had been missing. But your other point about whether he'll change his shape, not sure about that, to be honest with you. It's a real shame that Kieran Tierney's a casualty of the system. If you play a 4, then he probably is the one that drops out, and that's a shame, because I think he brings a lot to the team. But I can understand why you don't play him if it's a back 4. I'm sure there'll be listeners also that'll be wanting to see Lennon Miller in this game. But I think what you'll see, and what you saw yesterday, you especially saw it with on Saturday, you especially saw it with the Japanese, because they made 10 outfield changes. You'll see a lot of substitutions in this game, and that's it can be annoying, because it disrupts the game, and it kind of makes a game feel a little bit unreal if you're getting up to 11 substitutions, But I think you will see time for Lennon Miller, and you will see time for Finlay Curtis, and the kind of younger, fresher blood that the fans want to see. But I think Steve Clarke will also be conscious that actual game time is running out now in terms of the World Cup. It comes at you fast, whatever it is, 90 odd days away. But for a manager, he's only got another 180 minutes on the pitch with them, He can work with them in training, but he'll only have the Curaçao game now, and then the Venezuela game that we think will be confirmed. it's a balance for Steve Clarke about, you want performance, you want momentum, you want a result, but it's all about fine-tuning for Haiti, really,
Yeah. And if we talk about our World Cup rivals, so Haiti only lost 1-0 to Tunisia. Kind of emphasising that we can't underestimate them. Brazil lost to a 10-man France 2-1 in Boston on Thursday night, and Morocco got a late equaliser to draw with Ecuador. If we look at our opponents on Tuesday, Amad Diallo of Man U is kind of, people would say, maybe the star player of the Ivory Coast. I think Frank Kessie, formerly of AC Milan, is their only non-European based player. So it makes sense for a local game. They beat South Korea 4-0 at the weekend. When you look at the scores, Gesson, Adingra, guys who've been around European football a lot. Nicolas Pepe, I saw, came off the bench. He was previously, £70 million player, something like that. How do you think this is going to go, Cammy, this game?
I think it'll be a tough game for Scotland, I really do, and especially we're obviously looking to make a number of changes to give game time, but again, as Michael mentioned, we're trying to get momentum towards the World Cup. We're running out of games, so I think it'll be a really tough game. They'll be very physical, they'll be strong. I can see it being a difficult one for us, I really can. I think we need to start the game well and play with a real intensity. And we've got to offer more of a threat going forward. We need to offer more at the top end of the pitch, creating chances, taking risks at times as well. I think sometimes we don't take that risk. The build-up play is a little bit too slow and it allows the opposition to get back. So if we can try and play with that spring and that attack, that we've got the players to do it with as well. So it's just having that belief and trying to get opportunities. But I can see it being a really difficult game. I think it'll be a very, very close game between the two sides.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. This is something that I've never seen, and I've been prompted to do to both of you. So putting you both on the spot, quick fire questions, 1 word answers only. Michael Grant, we'll start with you. Are we going to beat Ivory Coast?
That's
your word. Good. Okay. We're going with
yes. I said no when I was asked about this for the Japan game, so I'll say yes this time.
Okay. Cammy?
No.
Okay. Cammy, one player who has already advanced their case for going to the World Cup.
Hurst.
Okay. Michael?
Yeah, can I say Hurst as well? I thought.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I thought he did well on his sub appearance last night and may well get a start.
I thought you might have gone for one of the centre halves because they've not played much football for Scotland recently.
But I think you'll go with McKenna and Hanley, won't you, if they're both fit?
I don't know. Hendry offers another possibility.
I actually thought Hendry had a decent Euros, by the way. I know he's subsequently kind of fell out of the team, but I actually thought he played all right in Germany.
The one that I'm fascinated by is Ryan Porteous, who was a mainstay, got that red card. I think he's had maybe 7 minutes for Scotland. In that 7 minutes, he got a yellow card that should have been a red, by the way. But in that time, he seems to have been bombed out and doing very well in LA. But we've seen
very well.
Yeah, and we've seen at times where Steve Clarke has been quite fickle with the American-based players. There was a time where Ryan Gauld and Lewis Morgan were flavour of the month, and they were in every team and coming off the bench usually, but then they've fallen away as well. I just find it fascinating, the centre-backs ones. And finally, this is a hard one for you both. Cammy, we'll start with you. The national mood on Wednesday morning.
Concerned.
Oh,
Cammy, come on. Michael, are you going as pessimistic as Cammy Bell?
I can't really. If I've said that we're going to win,
Yeah.
Expectant, I'll go with.
Yeah, cool. If it's my national mood after the trip to Liverpool for my first day off in a while, I think the word could be hungover. You can see Ivory Coast v Scotland live on BBC Two from 7:15 on Tuesday, or listen live to Sports Sound on Radio Scotland from 6 o'clock. That's all we got time for. Many thanks to Cammy and Michael, and thank you for listening. Remember, we're here with new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast bright and early every day, so to make sure you don't miss out, subscribe on BBC Sounds and have push notifications turned on in your phone. Yeah, I think we all want the Japan game to be out of thought, so let's hope we put a good performance in against the Ivory Coast on Tuesday, mainly so Cammy can look foolish and not be as pessimistic as that sounded. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
It's petty, it's ill-informed.
Are President Trump's cuts having an adverse effect on research?
It's pandemonium.
What number's that in the periodic table?
PD, number 47. I don't know.
I've done the shooting clays before. The longer you do it, the sorter obviously it gets.
When Craig said there he'd been shooting the clays, I imagined him out a back line. Somebody's washing, you know.
William Shatner, his secretary, contacted me to say, when Bill has a question now and again, can he contact you? And then one time he called me up and he wanted to know, David, what is a photon? I'm thinking, this is incredible. Captain Kirk wants to know what a photon is, you know.
I once met a guy who referred to a globe as a ball map. A ball map.
A ball map. Look at the ball map.
What we normally do is spin the ball map and we see where we go on holiday.
The Off the Ball podcast, available every Monday on BBC Sounds.